one of the richest men in the world, the second richest man in fact, Bill Gates, has announced he plans to give virtually all of his money away over the next couple of decades, and also that he plans to end the Gates Foundation, his charitable organization, in 20 years, and he even explained why he's doing this. So let's get into the story and understand what is happening here. Now, before we get started, if you appreciate us coming at you with these stories every single day, it does help out tremendously if you hit that like button. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And now let's get into the story. Now, for those of you that don't know, Bill Gates is the co-founder of Microsoft and one of the wealthiest people on earth. He currently sits at number 2 on the Forbes Real-Time Billionaires list with a $106 billion fortune. And while he has been married and divorced twice, he currently has a girlfriend named Paula Hurd, who is the ex-wife of the late Mark Hurd, former CEO of Oracle. With all that being said, Bill Gates announced this week that he plans to give away virtually all of his wealth over the next couple of decades. And he's also planning on closing down the Gates Foundation in 20 years. And he shared the reasons behind both of these decisions in an interview with the BBC this week, starting off with his decision to give most of his wealth away. Gates stated, "I'm 81 on the Forbes list, and so, if I hold on to more than $100 billion, I don't have a license to spend that money. I don't want to own that much stuff. If I had a $400 bill, I'd give 3 of them to other people." He continued and said, "And so, over time, it's going to be virtually all given away." This is very similar to what Warren Buffett has done throughout his lifetime, as well as other billionaires such as George Soros and Ray Dalio. Most of these guys are doing this through their charitable organizations. But Gates, unlike these other billionaires, says that he will close down his charitable organization in 20 years. When asked about this, Gates said, "There's no timetable on giving away the money, but the goal, the thing I want to see by the end of my life, is that the assets are used to benefit people. And then that doesn't exist anymore, because either the problems are solved or they've been greatly alleviated. I don't want the Gates Foundation to still be around when I'm long gone." And he made it clear that the reason he wants to close down his foundation is because he believes that he's only going to be around for another 10 to 20 years. And he believes that after he dies, his foundation shouldn't continue to exist. In fact, he went as far as to say that he thinks that having a Gates Foundation in 10 to 20 years from now would actually be immoral. He explained, "You'll have this enormous amount of money flowing into these organizations, and so they can kind of take it, spend it however they want. We don't need any big building in DC or anything. And so, I think that would be really immoral at some point. And so, there won't be a Gates Foundation 20 years from now. There may be a couple of things that are going on that have to be finished up, but it should be a small fraction of what it is today." This is a huge announcement from Gates, considering the Gates Foundation is one of the biggest charitable organizations on Earth. They currently have roughly $51 billion worth of assets under management, and last year they gave away roughly $9.8 billion. As you can imagine, when someone gives away that much money, they can make a massive impact in pretty much any area they choose to focus on. And since its founding in 2000, the Gates Foundation has focused primarily on global health and poverty issues. Now, the Gates Foundation has received criticism in the past for some of their practices. For example, earlier this year, the organization came under fire for allegedly paying millions of dollars to Bill Gates to fly him around on his private jet, to meet with government officials and attend conferences. Now, while it might seem crazy to pay someone $100 million to hop on a private jet, according to the New York Times. The agreement allows the foundation to charge Mr. Gates for the flights at a discounted rate, and the arrangement helps the foundation save money in the long run. Either way, this is one of the reasons that Gates says that he wants to move away from having a large charitable organization. In the interview, Gates said that he felt bad because while he was giving away billions of dollars, he also owned a private jet, and he even said that owning a private jet wasn't enough. He continued and said, "It's not that you shouldn't have a private jet. It's that you shouldn't have one and use it so little." I did feel guilty about that. He continued and said, "It's like my biggest regret. Like if I had to pick something that was a waste, I spent a lot of money on the jet. I just didn't use it enough. I don't like the feeling of having wasted money. You can always make more money, but you can't always make more time." The second reason Gates gave for closing his foundation down in 20 years is that he thinks that with enough time, all of the problems that they are working on can either be solved or greatly alleviated. The three main issues that Gates and his foundation are working on are: Number 1, improving education in the United States. Number 2, combating climate change. And number 3, preventing pandemics and fighting existing ones. When asked if he believed that these problems could be solved, Gates said, "Well, I hope so. I think in the case of the pandemic, there's lots of tools available. I mean, we had an advanced team standing up vaccines in record time. We have an advanced team on diagnostics. We're trying to get therapeutics, so that within 48 hours, you can have something that works against a new variant. So, we can solve the pandemic problem. Education. Look, there's lots of innovations in education. Personalized learning, teacher training, especially around early childhood education. We should be able to make a lot of progress. Climate, we have to do a ton more work on that. But each of these areas, yes, I think you should expect that we can make big progress." Gates also stated that although he believes that these issues can be solved, he knows that it's going to take quite a bit of time. When asked how long it will take to eradicate polio, Gates said, "Well, I hope it's not too much longer. It's very close to being eliminated everywhere. Except for Afghanistan and Pakistan. We got to work harder on vaccine delivery there. But there's going to be wild swings. But I hope it's less than 5 years. When I talk about solving a problem, getting rid of polio forever. And if you had told me that measles would come back and be a big problem, I wouldn't have believed you." While Gates is optimistic that these problems can be solved, he did state that there is a chance that they do not get solved in the next 20 years. However, he believes that if they aren't solved in the next 20 years, then they won't be solved anytime soon. Either way, he believes that the best way forward is to put everything he has into these efforts and see what he can accomplish. Personally, I think this is a great decision by Gates. Obviously, he isn't going to give away 100% of his wealth, as he still needs something to fall back on. However, giving away 99% of your wealth is a huge deal and will allow him to sleep at night, knowing that he's making a difference in the world, instead of just sitting on a bunch of cash. Now, as far as the Gates Foundation goes, I also think this is a good idea, as it will force them to be more efficient with their donations. Right now, they have $50-some-odd billion, and they're spending $10 billion per year. So that means that they have roughly 50 years worth of funding. If they don't close the organization down in 20 years, then they'll have 30 years of funding left over. And that's a lot of time to solve these problems. Personally, I think having a deadline in sight will make them much more efficient with their spending and hopefully much more effective in their approach. And that's the story of Bill Gates and why he plans to give virtually all of his money away over the next 20 years, and also end his foundation in the next 20 years. Do you guys think this is a good idea? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if you appreciate us coming at you with these stories every single day. And of course, consider joining our community to get the most out of our content. Much love. See you guys on the next one.